Now, I don't normally do trailer breakdown videos, but for games by Kojima Productions, I make an exception. Few games have been shrouded in such a mixture of hype and confusion the way Death Stranding has. First revealed in the Game Awards show in 2016, what little we've seen up to this point could often be summed up as, yeah, that. But with the reveal of today's trailer, not only do we know that Death Stranding is coming out November 8th, 2019, which is shocking to say the least, but we also now know that the gameplay looks like it might kick some serious ass. Part of why I've always mostly loved the games Kojima and his team put out there is because, for better and worse, they're always distinct experiences. And now more than ever, we need games that don't feel like the same shit in a different wrapper. After MGS5, a game that for its literal mountain of flaws ended up being my current favorite game of all time, I knew that Death Stranding was going to be a game to keep an eye on. Based on what we've seen so far, it looks to have a focus on exploration, making your own paths to go out of your way, and the world itself, like Breath of the Wild, looks really harsh. I've always maintained that Breath of the Wild is the gold standard of what a good open world looks like. A world needs to feel both hostile and beautiful all at once, where getting from A to B is no easy task, and the act of actually exploring and venturing forth actually feels fun. What Death Stranding will end up having past its peaks, only time will tell. But the act of navigating so far looks like it could be very promising. After all, the world itself appears simultaneously brutal and atmospheric. We saw our first actual bit of stealth action on display, and right away I'm loving what I'm seeing. The way you use foliage as cover from the bad guys is giving me some serious Snake Eater vibes, except without the annoying first-person view bullshit. Of course, the mark of good stealth action is how you can adapt when things get hairy. And here we see an intense chase with the Homo Demons, subtle Kojima, giving chase and chucking electric rods at normal Ritas. I like that there's tension in that these bad guys can knock your cargo right off your fanny pack. Then you have this neat little evasive maneuver, and melee combat looks like it carries some serious weight to it, a lot more than Metal Gear Solid ever did. And the option to smack people around with their own discarded cargo is a nice touch for chaining combos. I also love that enemies are actually using vehicles more practically now, and hope that we see bad guys using vehicles on patrol routes. On the subject of vehicles, the bike looks like it's going to be a blast to ride. Looks very tightly maneuvered, which is good, and with any luck we can get into some badass vehicular pursuits with these guys. Gunplay looks fairly standard comparatively speaking. Movement looks like it's fairly loose when aiming a gun, and I can't really get a sense of how weighty gunplay feels, but I can't say one way or the other until we actually see normal Ritas getting into an actual shootout with the bad guys. I mean, gunplay depends entirely on how enemies behave and what sort of evasive maneuvers you can pull off. But I mean, MGS5 had some of the best gunplay I've ever experienced in a third-person shooter, so I'm optimistic. If there's one segment I'm kind of iffy about, it's with the BTs. In both trailers now, we've seen these intense stealth segments where ghosts are lurking around and you gotta be very quiet or else get sucked into the void. And right there was my concern. As I said earlier, good stealth action isn't just about how you bypass enemies. It's about how you adapt when a situation goes south. And at least based off of these two gameplay segments, the BT sequences look almost like forced stealth, where if you're caught, you're just dead or whatever the hell this is. And that I ain't too enamored with. I've never liked forced stealth segments because they deprive you of the moment of improv where you just leg it and try and shake off your pursuers or else just try and take them all down. You can't improvise if you're automatically dead every time you get spotted. So I really hope that ain't the case here. I mean, that aside, everything else looks really awesome. I don't really have much of anything to say about the story because, I mean, what the hell can I say? I know absolutely nothing about the plot other than it's really weird. But if you follow my channels at any point, you know that while I'm a big fan of Kojima Productions, when it comes to Kojima's actual storytelling, I'm not the biggest fan. I've always viewed Kojima as a writer with really great ideas who never quite manages to do those ideas justice. I have absolutely no clue which way things will go with Death Stranding. I guarantee that for all its confusing trailers, at the end of the day, it won't be nearly as abstract as the trailers are making out to be. That tends to be the case with all of Kojima's games, where you have all these theories, all these elaborate thoughts and abstract imagery, but at the end of the day, things are pretty straightforward. Weird, but straightforward. But that said, it's still certainly intriguing. As far as cutscenes go, Kojima's games have always been the gold standard of what video game cutscenes done right looks like, when they aren't exposition dumps. Visually, there's a lot of dynamic camera work you just don't see in most video games. The facial animations look excellent, where thus far nothing's given me a sense of uncanny valley. As far as the characters go, Higgs looks like he'll be a very fun villain. He's got some nifty looking powers, and with any luck, he won't get crushed to death right before his boss fight. I have no clue if Cliff is a good guy or a bad guy, but he's Mads Mikkelsen, that's literally all that matters. Normal Rias is still doing that annoying ass exaggerated Daryl voice, but it at least seems like Kojima intends to get more mileage out of him than he did with Kiefer Sutherland. And Die Hard Man, I just fucking Die Hard Man. Now, admittedly, I don't really like the precedent of casting celebrities in lieu of actual video game voice actors like Troy Baker. Even if the actors do a good job, you run the risk of other games selling a product off name value over the actual characters. Plus, I mean, isn't voice acting competitive enough without needing to compete with the likes of Mads Mikkelsen and Kiefer Sutherland? But while Kojima does liken himself to that of an actual film director, as an actual video game cutscene director, I think he's the best in the biz. And that his casting choices are less about cynical name value and more about being in service of the actual characters. Such was the case with Jack Bauer in Phantom Pain, however underutilized he was. was, and such seems to be the case with these guys here. Because honestly, while I doubt I'll be wowed by the actual writing of the game, if history has taught me anything, I'll at least remember Death Stranding's story, characters, and cutscenes. Even with all of his many flaws as a writer, Kojima knows how to create truly memorable story experiences. Even the Metal Gear games with stories I don't like all that much, spoiler alert, it's most of them, they always stick with me. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Witcher 3 sell themselves off their stories and rich worlds and characters, and presumably have the best writing of any video games ever made to any pundit and journalists online and most of their fans. And while games like these manage to absorb me when I'm playing them, once the credits have rolled, it's in one ear out the other. None of them ever stick with me when I finish. Not the characters, the message, the moments, none of it. And for as often as I've personally given Kojima shit for his very flawed method of storytelling and never doing his characters justice, I retain everything from his video games. And judging from what we've seen thus far, I doubt that's going to change here. But really for me, it's all about gameplay first and foremost. That's all that matters with any video game, because that's what's going to keep me coming back to a game after the credits roll. And at least thus far, Death Stranding looks to have pretty much everything I could ask for from a video game. A harsh yet beautiful open world where exploration actually feels like a genuine journey and not just reaching a marker, fun-looking, weighty combat, good old-fashioned sneaky bits, tight vehicular action, inventive boss monsters, and naked Mads Mikkelsen. I hope there's more to the BTs than forced stealth, but time will tell. Either way, I just became very excited for the month of November. Whether this game will surpass Phantom Pain for me or not, only time will tell. But I can guarantee damn well that this will probably be the most memorable game I played this year and probably in a long damn time. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Death Stranding and the release trailer itself? Are you as shocked as I am that the game's actually coming out this year? Are you excited, skeptical, that your brain still hurt trying to understand what the hell's going on? Or are you still hung up that one of Kojima's characters is actually named fucking Die Hard Man? Die Hard Man. Whatever your thoughts, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, maybe consider subscribing. Anyway, thanks for watching, and while I'm presumably straight, Troy Baker can lick my face any day. God bless that beautiful 43-year-old man.